Welcome to the Library of Humanity. Today we're looking at that you are what you listen to, or I guess more generally, you are what you expose yourself to. And often you actually don't have a choice to what you're exposed to, right? Like you go to work and people next to you have a conversation, and that influences your belief system. It influences how you interact with other people. And a lot of it is either conscious or subconscious. You actually don't even know exactly how other people or society is even influencing you in the first place. So, one really good method to figure out how you are being influenced by society is by diving into yourself, learning more about kind of what's in your conscious mind, but also like in your shadow or your subconscious self, like what is in there. And it's been influenced by nature and nurture, right? So you have your biology, and that's influenced how you look and how you behave from some certain extent. But you are also highly influenced by society, the media, the internet, your friends, your family, and even how you talk to yourself. So if you watch yourself communicate to yourself, it kind of doesn't make sense, but you are watching yourself talk to yourself. But that talk, that inner voice, it's basically a culmination of like society. So it's called the idealized other. So like your inner voice, it's like how do other people how do they think about me? Or you judge yourself like I shouldn't eat that other piece of chocolate, or I shouldn't have a beer. I should go out and jog, or but I want to lie on the couch instead of go to the gym. So this is all like inner judgment, right? So this is all learned behavior from society. Now, as an adult, you have a choice to like create your own culture. So I have a video called Create Your Own Culture, but specifically you have a choice to decide what you are exposed to. And what I'm saying is you are what you listen to. You are what you consume from the media. So what media sources do you consume? Also, how much time do you spend with your friends? And who are those friends and how do they influence your thinking patterns? How do they influence your belief system? Right? So for me, for a couple of years, I've been really, really invested in philosophy, mindfulness, and spirituality, right? So I am that now. Like I am this person who has like spirituality deep in my bones, philosophy deep in my brain, mindfulness deep in my central nervous system from the meditation I've done, right? But I don't want to be just that, right? I want to expose myself to also just real freaking life, just like I want to be like I'm studying to be a teacher, right? So I'm a student teacher. When you walk into a 10th grade history class, like that's life, man. Like it's just deep life. It's mundane, it's normal. There's nothing that seems godly about it. There's nothing that seems spiritual about it. But it's like the manifestation of the universe or God in that moment. So like the universe is that 10th grade history class at that moment. And so what I'm saying is I want to become more, I want to expose myself to more of the mainstream, more society, to be a more well-rounded person. So I am deliberately exposing myself to mainstream, like the mainstream. So for example, I personally think like the Joe Rogan podcast is kind of mainstream. If you are listening to other types of podcasts like Buddha at the Gas Pump, or you are on actualize.org, or if you listen to me on Library of Humanity, that is like kind of the opposite of mainstream, right? Like I don't talk about anything that's like normal, right? I don't talk about the Vikings and the Seahawks. I don't talk about FIFA. I don't talk about the major MLS. I don't talk about the politics in Africa, or I don't talk about CNN. But I'm trying to expose myself. I'm trying to be like this. I want to become more in between kind of this esoteric philosophy, spirituality realm of life, and then the very mainstream, like CNN, or history class in a public school, or going out for drinks at Buffalo Wild Wings. Like that's stuff that is very, very mainstream. Now I think I'm just using the Joe Rogan podcast as a metaphor, because I it's not really a metaphor, because I actually am listening to that podcast a lot now. It's because I want to bridge the gap between esoteric and mainstream, and because I want to be a more well-rounded person. And I'm not saying that you maybe don't want to be a completely well-rounded person, because maybe in your mind you're like, no, I want to specialize. I want to specialize in being maybe a violinist, right? And that's your goal. Or you want to be a basketball player, and you dive into being a basketball player 100%. Or you want to be a mixed martial art fighter. So then you're constantly developing yourself to be that. So one particular idea, one particular identity. You're not exposing yourself to the breadth of life, the diversity of life, and what I would argue is that diversity itself. That's what God is. That's what life is. That's what existence is that diversity. So you need to be comfortable with that diversity. So you need to be comfortable watching CNN. You need to be comfortable with the Joe Rogan podcast, but you also need to be comfortable with Buddha at the gas pump. And you need to be comfortable meditating for an hour, but also you got to be comfortable giving a speech to 10th graders. You need to be comfortable pitching like a business idea to your boss, or you need to be comfortable driving on a highway, right? So too many people are focused on, are specializing, right? Like even Ramana Maharshi, I have great respect for the sage Ramana Maharshi. However, he was specialized in being enlightened. Like that's like his identity. I know that he didn't believe that, but he was meditating in a cave. He was meditating in a monastery. He was meditating in ashrams, and then he opened his own ashram. But that was unwittingly. He did that because he didn't choose to open his own ashram. Someone said that he should, and then he actually just went with the flow and became a guru at the ashram. So, but he was really one way. He was driving on one road of life, and that was enlightenment by meditating in caves. Other people on the far side, on the other side of the spectrum, if you go from like being a hermit to like really mainstream, like maybe you're a banker, or maybe you're a science teacher, like that's very mainstream. That's very kind of normal, quote unquote normal. Now we want to find kind of a nice balance between being Ramana Maharshi and being like what's his name, Dan Harris. He's a news broadcaster on ABC. Like he's very mainstream, right? So if you're a news broadcaster on ABC News, it's very like normal and mainstream. So you want to find yourself in a balance between being like a meditation sage, and then having a career that you're 100% invested in, and you're only going in one direction, and you're saying like, I want to be a basketball player, I want to be a violinist, I want to be a CEO, or I want to be known for traveling. So you're putting all of your eggs in one basket. What I'm saying is you need to diversify your eggs. You need to put one egg in all these different types of baskets. So like if you look at your routine, you can do many things. So you're awake for like 16 hours, right? So what I'm saying is do something different for each hour. Meditate for an hour, then work out for an hour, then read for an hour, then socialize for an hour, and then take a nap for an hour, and then work hard for an hour, like with your job, and then do something random like learn how to play guitar, or go for a walk, or if you are on vacation, that gives you a lot of time to do a diversity of activities. So you don't literally have to do one new thing every hour, but I'm saying maybe one day you learn guitar, and the next day you study Spanish, and the next day you take a day off, and the next day you meditate for the morning, and then you do yoga in the afternoon, and then you socialize in the evening. So your schedule is very, very flexible. Okay, and why this video is you are what you listen to, is because a lot of people have time to choose YouTube videos, podcasts, but I'm also thinking about books, friends that you hang out with. So you are being influenced by these things. And so whatever activity you choose, know that you're going to be influenced by it. You're gonna start identifying yourself with it. Your subconscious is going to start attaching to it, or it's going to start like reforming itself, because your brain is actually plastic. Like it can bend, it can reshape itself. Your brain, it's called gray matter, I believe, in your brain. And so if you want to learn more about that, I think it's called gray matter. And I can't think of the other word about it, but your brain is plasticity. That's the word. That's why I said plastic. So your brain has plasticity. It can bend and reshape itself to have a new identity, to think in a new pattern, to be an expert in a new idea, to learn a new language. That's a huge example or metaphor that I would advocate, is like dedicate yourself to learning another language or two. Okay, it's like for me, I lived in Ecuador for 1.5 years, and I dedicated myself to becoming fluent in Spanish. Entonces, ahora yo hablo español. So now I speak Spanish. I can understand when people are speaking Spanish as well. Not 100%, right? Like, I don't think it's really possible to ever be 100% fluent, like a native speaker. But you can become fluent enough where you can speak like me. Por ejemplo, ahora no tengo mucho acento. Like when I speak Spanish, I don't have much of an accent because I threw myself into that basket of languages, and I dedicated myself for 1.5 years. And that's exactly what immersion is, language immersion. So I'm saying you should immerse yourself into learning a second language or even a third language. Like I also speak a little bit of French. I like to diversify myself. I don't like to be an expert. When I was learning Spanish, I did want to be an expert in Spanish. But when I realized that I can't be an expert in Spanish because I'm not a native speaker, then I gave that up. I gave up, and it felt so good to give up the idea of being perfect at Spanish. Like I can't tell you the relief. Like for a whole year, I was like, I'm putting all my energy into becoming a perfect Spanish speaker. I will speak just like a native speaker. But when I said, oh, I want to have a wide variety of skills, it was such a relief. Like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm good at Spanish, but now I want to have other skills. I want to diversify myself. I want to become self-actualized. So I guess what I'm saying today is that self-actualization is when you choose to listen to podcasts or read books that give you all of these different ideas, mainstream ideas and esoteric ideas. Okay, so I think the Joe Rogan podcast is a perfect in between the two. So you learn a lot about maybe meditation and psychedelics, and like in the float, he does sense deprivation floating in a float tank, and that's very kind of this bridge between the mainstream and esoteric, because it is talking about meditation and even going into the no self, the area of like I don't exist, to the float tank is just kind of like normal self-actualization or self-help. So self-help or self-development is kind of like the intro level to a lot of the stuff I talk about in this like very advanced self-actualization of like enlightenment, Kundalini yoga. That stuff is very advanced. But then self-help, like a float tank, sense deprivation float tank, that is very introductory, or like trying mushrooms for the first time. That's very introductory to what are the potentials. Okay, so those are all things that you can dive into and become a jack of all trades, right? You're a Renaissance person, a Renaissance man, a Renaissance person, meaning that you're good at a lot of different things. And if you watch the Joe Rogan podcast a lot, you realize that he knows a little bit about a lot. And I think what I'm advocating is that you can become that person that is good at a lot of things, but not great at one particular thing. So on my channel here, I advocate that we become good at many different things. Right? For me, I'm not an expert at making YouTube videos. I'm not an expert at podcasts, right? But I do it. Why? Because I want to be good at it. It helps my public speaking. Like, I'm not the greatest public speaker ever, but I have a lot of confidence in my speaking abilities, in myself, and in what I know. Like, I'm a decently smart person. I don't know a lot about, I don't know a ton about chemistry. I don't know a ton about the news. I don't know a ton about even philosophy even. But I know quite a bit about philosophy because I dedicated myself to philosophy for 3 or 4 years, but now I feel like I know quite a bit. I want to put my eggs in other baskets. I want to diversify my skills to become a very happy person. So that's the key. That's how I'm going to end the video, by saying that when you diversify your skills, your interests, your ideas, and that's what you are becoming more diverse, that is happiness. Like, you feel so good when you are doing a little bit of this and a little bit of that in your life. You're becoming a decent cook and a guitar player. You can dance. You can public speak. You can pass any class. You can speak another language. You've tried psychedelics. You've meditated. All of these different skills. That's what I mean by a self-actualized person who is very, very happy. All right, so that's it for this one. If you like the video, you can click the like button. If you have any questions, comment below. And that's it. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.